Hi, I'm Hazel. It's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week, it is now 1 week until BlizzCon, and we have the official BlizzCon schedule. The things of note for World of Warcraft, the key news and announcement items to watch out for here. We've got the opening ceremony starting 11 a.m. on Friday, that's day 1, November the 3rd. We've got the WoW What's Next update at 1:30, Classic What's Next at 3:30, and then on day 2, there's going to be the WoW Deep Dive at 12 p.m., and these are all West Coast times, Pacific times. This is so soon and so exciting, and you may notice that there is not a WoW Q&A marked here, and they're actually not doing a live Q&A this year. They're going to tape a Q&A as a video released after the convention. They're going to take questions on the forums and then also write in questions at the convention itself, but they will not be doing a live hosted WoW Q&A. This could be interpreted as either A, an attempt to shield themselves from criticism and gotchas at the event, or B, a way for them to pick more relevant questions that they have answers for, and also double check their answers before they give them with the people that are familiar with it. Either way, that'll be out at some point after the convention, but we should have lots of news to keep ourselves busy with from Friday and Saturday. These things can all be watched for free. They are streaming them to Twitch and YouTube. There is no virtual ticket fee this year, so that pack that they sold previously is just cosmetics. You do not need that to watch these streams. Streams and VODs are going to be available on their public channels for all of it. I am also planning to watch most of these announcements live on my own stream on Twitch if you are looking for a chat room in which to be. Other 10.2 news ahead of the convention. They've been posting blog posts and updates about 10.2 along with full patch notes. There was a developer post about the upgrade system and what they're changing with it for 10.2. It's pretty lengthy. It's quite interesting. Worth a read. I will link it. The highlights here are that you will be able to some extent, actually trade crests up once you no longer need a lower tier one for upgrades. So if you have no more upgrades that you could purchase with a given crest type, you will be able to exchange them for the next one up at a 6-to-1 ratio. This doesn't sound very generous, but it gives you something to do with all of those dead crests. I know I'm not the only person that has been vendoring or just straight deleting Whelpling and Drake's crest fragments, and with this system you would be able to trade those for something more relevant, assuming that you were not capped on that next one. Speaking of caps, they have crest fallbacks they're introducing, so if you are capped on a given crest, you will earn the next one down. Both of these things add up to fewer wasted crests overall, which is a good thing. The crest cap itself is lower, which might be controversial. On one hand, it will make it easier to farm all of the available gear upgrades. You won't need to grind quite so hard if you want to get the available stuff. It will still accumulate, so if you come in late in the season, you will still be able to do that grinding and catch up if you want. But we're not going to be able to upgrade our gear quite as quickly as we did in Dragonflight Season 2, which I'm on board with because it felt very fast the first time around, but you are going to find yourself capped on a crest much sooner than you would have in Season 2, and maybe that's where that fallback is going to come in handy. You can get the next one down and then eventually trade it back for the next one up once you're no longer capped on it. Sounds like a lot of complicated words for a system that some people find too complicated, and it all does work to make it more user-friendly. The question is whether a system needs to be user-understandable to be user-friendly, and how many people are going to understand all of this innately when they're just interacting with the system in the game. I think it's going to be fine, but I'm an optimist. Also, if you hadn't heard, there will be no more crest fragments. Crests will come in complete form only, and they will go straight to your currency tab. They do not hit your bags. Your bag space is once again yours to, cavort in. You can trade the currency version of the crest for an item version specifically for the use of crafting. So if you wanted to get an enchanted crest to craft a piece of gear with, you can use your currency to buy a nascent crest and then have the enchanter make that into a thing. But generally speaking, your bag space is now yours again. I'm personally really happy to see them iterating on the crest system and continuing to work on it. I really liked it in the first season, and I'm glad that they're not just giving up on it, and they also see what's working, and they're going to keep trying to refine it and improve it. Curious to see what direction they take for the next expansion, if we learn anything about that at BlizzCon, because that would be a big opportunity to shake things up even more. Other 10.2 info from the patch notes, something that if we knew, it missed me. Apparently, the Revival Catalyst is going to be open for business from day one, but it's going to accumulate charges half as fast. I'm personally really excited about this. I have been antsy for them to open the catalyst earlier in the season for a long time, so having it open for the get-go is great. Remains to be seen if that slower pace is going to feel super punishing, but I'm, again, optimistic. Other things going on, Druid customizations, there's a bunch of new ones in 10.2. We knew about this already, but I figured it was high time that I took a look with my own two eyes. So here they are. Here are the new Druid forms that you can unlock in 10.2. We have multiple new looks for the various Druid forms. You can get new cats, bears, travel form, water form, bird form, and Moonkins get their own 2-page character creator. This is more options than gnomes have now. You can make some very unique looking boomkins with this, which is awesome, and maybe it shall convert a few Glyph of Stars people back to the bird life. Other news this week, the Armored Bloodwing is now available as a Twitch Prime drop, so if you are a Twitch Prime user and you don't have this mount, make sure that you claim it before November the 28th. If you already had it, and you might, then congratulations, you've had it for all this time. I am in that boat as well. This was previously a shop mount that was removed from the shop, retired a couple of years ago, and now it's back. Speaking of promo mounts, those new 12-month subscription mounts that we hinted at last week are now available. They are released into the game. The giant purple murloc, and then this owlbear-looking thing, which you might be interested to know does fly. If you are on a 12-month subscription to WoW, then you can claim these through the gift button on your Battle.net launcher. Kitty cat, which one do you like? And why is it the fish? She's actually not a big fish cat. She would prefer chicken any chance she gets, so maybe she would go for the bear bird thing. And then in my life this week, I finally hit 40 on my Hardcore Classic Warlock, and I got my Dreadsteed mount. And that might be it for Hardcore Classic for me for the time being, just because we are looking down the business end of BlizzCon and Raid Guide season and a new patch release. There's a lot going on. It's busy. So I think that I might be hanging up my Hardcore Classic hat for a while. But it is one of those things, especially if you are playing primarily solo, that you can kind of come back to whenever you want. The auction house might die off a bit as players kind of move on, but generally speaking, the game itself doesn't really, bizarrely enough, doesn't really need other people that much, so. And then questions for this week. Ragnarok asks, should LFG queues lock people into specs for the role that they've queued as? Dungeons and raids don't seem too bad, but the holiday bosses are getting a lot of role abuse, such as somebody queuing as a healer and then doing damage, or somebody queuing as a tank and then, being a melee DPS. Have you experienced this problem, and what do you think should be done about it? So this has been around for a while, especially with holiday bosses, and for the most part, I feel like with previous holiday bosses, including the recent Corrin Dire Brew, you could mostly get away with it. Love is in the Air in particular, the Love Rocket Farm. That one you could really kind of do anything and they would fall over at some point, so I never really blamed people for queuing as whatever they needed to for the fast queue, because even if I was DPSing, all I wanted was the queue to pop so I could get in there. However, with the Headless Horseman, because people are taking more damage, it's hitting harder, the encounter itself is taking much longer, it is way more noticeable when people are underperforming or are as the incorrect role. I mean, the obvious solution is to force somebody to play as the spec they queued up as, to lock them to the role that they queued for within that instance. I do think that would be a little fun policey, especially if it applied outside of holiday bosses. There's plenty of instances where you can queue up to heal in LFR. Nobody really needs the healing because one healer is doing all of it, and if you switch to damage, you might actually get the instance done faster. One solution for that, if you were going to do the instance lock thing, would be to allow people to bypass it by means of a vote. You could have the group consent to have the healer do damage or whatever if they don't think they need the healing. That might be kind of overdoing it, but I do think at the very least automatically swapping someone's spec to the one they queued as and then topping up their mana would not be unwelcome, because half the time I just need to do that anyways, and it would be nice if they just pop me into healer spec when I queued as a healer so that I can get into it faster if I was just running around questing as a DPS while waiting for the queue. And then Drew wants to know, do you think it's time that Blizz increase the rate of profession knowledge gain? I've been doing weekly knowledge quests since launch, starting to wonder if I'm going to be capped on anyone before the next X-Pack. So Weekly quests are only part of the general knowledge gain. That could be part of the trouble. You can also get knowledge items every week from 2 enemy drops, 2 treasure drops, your treatise from inscription, and then the Darkmoon Fair once a month. And then, of course, all your one-time buys like the Niffin vendor thing and your, Artisan's Metal vendor buys and all that. It's unfortunate that none of that is made very clear by the game itself, but you can use week wars if you like to track your knowledge gain that's available to you for a week. As to whether they should add catch-up, it's kind of a prickly issue because on one hand, a lot of people would really like that and it would make it way more accessible to get into professions at this late stage, but you run the risk of upsetting the people that put in the effort early and expected to be at an advantage and to be ahead for that time. I think that you could make an argument for more catch-up because those people have already had the market to themselves for XYZ amount of time, but it's definitely not something they can do without ruffling feathers. And that has been the week. The next time we do one of these, it's going to be BlizzCon time. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.